everybody. Morning. Happy coffee. So there's been a lot of stuff that's gone on with me personally, as well as with the team, and we're trying to get some stuff going. And I also wanted to tell you, as a lot of you know, I'm the author of 9 different books. You can find me at harrisforsenate.com, and this little box right here takes you to Substack. The reason why I had to go to all of that is because it seems that when I was trying to relay some information that I thought was important and that other people have asked me about as a former journalist and author and other things, it seems that I'm saying things that make politicians uncomfortable, or the people who run the platforms uncomfortable, or somebody else is uncomfortable, but that doesn't mean that you don't need to know. So I'm starting to use TikTok Live exclusively as far as the initial broadcast, and then we're going to download all of that with the supporting information. And don't worry, I'm not going to try and read that all to you today, but it's going to end up on Substack so I can give you the citations and the fact base of where to find what I'm talking about. Fair enough? So, hit a button.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to be sharing with you the facts and findings, but right now I'm going to offer you my idea in what we have found out. Okay? So, before I get started, I want to tell you something. So, in high school, I was a football player and a wrestler. When I got out of high school, I kept eating like I was a football player and wrestler. And so, after a couple of injuries and some other stuff, I was pretty active when I was younger, but I kind of slowed down after I skied off a cliff and did a few other things. Yeah. Anyway, so I kept eating that way, and then all of a sudden I didn't fit in my car, the front of my car, like between me and the steering wheel. I couldn't even, it was hard to turn the steering wheel, which is bad when you're driving. So somehow on the way back from Texas, I figured out how to undo all of that. And so about 3 years ago, I started eating smaller portions, and eventually started working out at the gym. And now, so this coat was the name of my company 40 years ago. It was sold, but a lot of people still remember it, so I kept the coat around. Buttons can now see each other.
Awesome!
Yeah, it's the buttons can now see each other, and I'm still losing weight. And instead of being this wide, which means I wouldn't fit in this chair behind me, I am now this wide. So working on it. Now the other part about that is I'm not bringing that up to brag. I'm bringing that up because that's the way I operate. I keep working at something and working at something and working at something and working at something. And if I find out I've gone too far, okay, I go back the other way, and I work on it, and I work on it, and I work on it, and I work on it. This wasn't done with surgery. This wasn't done with diets. This wasn't done with anything other than my resolve. So, when I go to the Senate and represent you, okay, now I'm going to be elected in the state of New Hampshire, but every U.S. senator represents you, okay? So, you should at least go to harrisforsenate.com and find out what I'm planning on doing. Fair enough? Oh, and I was very much involved in labor and working a job and unions and all of that. So I want to talk a little bit about that. Not my background, what's going on. So every politician loves to stand on the factory floor. They love to go out and stand with a line crew or show up on a picket line. That's like primo photo op. But here's the thing, okay? If rich boardroom type people had their own political party, they would actually only represent about 3% of the U.S. population. You can look that up for yourself, by the way. It'll be in the citations. About 3% of the population. But if you look at, according to Congress's own statistics, that would be that representation of the 3% of the population is actually 50% of Congress. That people who have either worked for or taken money from those individuals. So maybe when Democrats and Republicans are passing things like right to work, which is a way to screw the unions and has nothing to do with a worker's ability to work because they don't care about that. Okay. So my union roots. My dad, Stevenson Charles Harris, was one of the first people in the country to bring a power line crew into the IBEW, and he did so in Seattle, Washington. My brothers followed in his footsteps. I come from a union family. When I went to college, I worked with the Carpenters Union as a fourth and lead on construction jobs. I was a little bit disturbed by when I had my own lighting and sound company that I showed you, that the union that I wanted to bring my entire 40 employees into, I approached them. They showed up with hired picketers on my front doorstep of my business, maybe because it had good traffic or they were just being stupid. So I'm not saying that unions are perfect. I'm saying that that's the best representation we currently have for workers in America. I am not trying to say that you have that kind of representation in Congress right now and haven't had for a long time. So let me ask you a question. Are your wages, your life, your stuff better for the politicians that have been in office, or do you want one that actually comes from where you come from? My name is Tim Harris. I'm running independent, and I will be New Hampshire's next senator. And again, I'm going to put all of this on my Substack, which is substack.com/@TimLHarris. Okay? Or you can just click on this little thingy here. See how technically advanced I am? That's called a thingy. Now let me say something along those same lines, but a little bit different. Even the Bible said the worker is worthy of his hire. And what's that? 2,500 years old? Okay. But we seem to have lost the idea of the rightness of work. I didn't say rights to work. I said rightness of work. There's a lot of stories I could tell. I could spend hours on what it feels like to take somebody who's an inner city kid, I've done that, and teach them how to build a bird box. And it ain't pretty. But they built it, and they take it home, and they show it, and they're proud of it. Okay? There is something wrong that we don't see that. I've never seen a coder or a programmer or a branch manager or someone who works at a bank have that level of pride, where they've made something with their hands, whether that's a steel frame. I have seen women brag about putting their bed together all by themselves. Okay? Not a bad thing. They did it all by themselves. They should have some pride about it. But the problem is, and I'm going to need my notes for this because it's got some dates and stuff on Most people who weren't raised around animals don't like them. Kids that don't go camping don't appreciate the outdoors. If you've never dragged a hose or worked with your grandpa on irrigation or been around water or seen what water can do, what's the chances that you're going to become a plumber? Okay. So, when you get old. So around 1978, something happened. There was a decline in people showing up to work for the trades. Fewer apprentices, fewer young people learning to work with their hands. Something else disappeared at that time too. That's when they took all of the home ec, all of the shop classes, all of the trades, all of the craft associated arts out of junior high and high school. Remember what I was saying a second ago? If you ain't exposed to it, you're not going to be into it. Is that like super science here? All the auto shops, all the wood shops, all the metal shops, every form of industrial arts taken out of junior highs and high schools across America. In California, they passed Proposition 13 in 1978, supposed to restructure property taxes. It resulted in a 60% drop in school funding. Guess which classes got cut? Anything relating to shop, building, creating, crafting. By the mid-1980s, of the 4,800 shop teachers left in America, the average age was 55, and nobody was volunteering to step in. These are all facts I'll cite.